whether ZF or Pixley, which is fine. But in an event that need is prioritized, I think that there should be a need to speak also with Treasury and try to get funds to start having this school, because it's no longer a luxury. It's a need that there must be another special school in your province. And the transport policy as well, because you have mentioned it, as we have raised it, as well as as our own recommendation, that a transport policy needs to be reviewed, that caters for those children in particular, because they are coming from all parts of the province, and many of them, they are also coming from poor families. And I think when we left with an understanding that said, it's something that you are going to look into. But there is no, to me, the response to that issue of transport policy is very vague. Is very vague. I'm raising it because when we were in the school, if you would remember, we were told that there is many learners, especially after COVID, their parents were very skeptical that they must go back, and the school is not capacitated as well to do online, to try and get them. One of the things that were an issue is that many of their learners, particularly that are coming from other districts, they never went back to school, which was a concern. And it's the concern that actually made us to make a recommendation that there is a need for another school in another district, so that you try to cover this issue, which is a challenge of attendance. And of course, because of their children with special needs, their parents, of course, just take a decision and they decide that they must not be there. But if they are there as well, you would have a problem of a transport that now and then is funded by other stakeholders or other people. It doesn't give certainty to parents, but also when we were there, we have agreed that there needs to be a reviewal of this transport policy of this special school in particular. So I'm raising those things because one is of the view that if something was done after we have left the province, it is not much. We don't know whether we have you have started to do some responses, because many of the responses are very vague, are not addressing what we have responded, what we have asked that it must be done. Whether because of we have asked, when you saw our letters asking for us to be briefed on these recommendations, then you started to follow, and then you are not necessarily telling us that this is what is going to happen. I'm raising this because members would remember when we dealt with Northwest, and many members had raised in last week's meeting. Look, I don't know whether it's because the department is under administration there, so there are people of Section 100 that are working there. But when you look into those recommendations and the things that they have done, they have responded and very quick to many issues. And a question we were even asking ourselves, how did it happen? Because you only had money in April, but whether they prioritized or they did what, we don't know. But the concern I'm raising is that many of those responses are vague. They are not telling us when there are issues of budgets, there are issues of MTF, but we don't get a sense that it's what you are prioritizing. So it might be when we come back next year in April or around this time and want to make other follow-ups, or not other rather, but the same follow-ups with the department, we might be getting the same answers. So I just thought that one must raise that so that we know, look, we're doing these oversights for obvious reasons. It is our mandate. But of course, when we make recommendations which we are of the view that it's things that are supposed to be assisting the department to move forward. And in many situations, we are raising these things because all of us, we've got an interest of the child and would want the environment then to be conducive for that particular child to be at school. So the issue of a special school is no longer a luxury. The issue of a special school in the Northern Cape, an additional one, is a need. It's a need. It has to happen. And I think we will be happy if it happens now in our time. We no longer say it. Because like I'm saying, our plans, your plans are having options which we are looking into. We are looking into the issues of projects, but you do acknowledge, you do agree that you need another school, but you are not able to be firm in taking that decision and making it happen. So those are the things from a side that I think I needed to raise. Thank you very much. I'll allow then MEC Free State to lead the responses and of course, as if the Principal.
Just a short one. Yeah, it's an unavoidable afterthought. You are talking about special school in the Northern Cape. And when I was going through the slides, I see here the Lady Foshi Special School, which is a victim of asbestos roofing. And I also see in the slide that in the response that they are talking about the procurement processes underway. You see, Chairperson, what I wanted just to make emphasis on, where possible, so that the Free State can respond, is with regard to the timelines for completion. The issue of asbestos is a health hazard to our people, let alone the learners and the teachers. Maybe if they can, like you are indicating, with regard to prioritization, tell us with regard to the timelines when they intend to shall have addressed this trouble of asbestos roofing in the Lady Foshi Special School. It shall assist. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Principal. MEC Free State.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Thank you very much to the members of the committee and all the questions that have been asked. Chairperson, I just need to confirm that we do take the issues that we've raised and the issues that you recommend very seriously. And in fact, because we all know that we've got the same interest in terms of transforming education in our country. So I just want the members to just accept that and know that if there is a delay or failure anywhere, it is not intended. We can't come to you and say we are going to do this and then we don't do it. Because if we do that, actually, we are cutting our nose to spite our own faces. But Chairperson, I thought that maybe before we go into other issues, let us ask the HOD and the team to specifically respond to the issues of Letifoshie. I know that there were few responses, but there's been other confirmation or in fact affirmation of or emphasis on certain questions that we need to respond to. But I must say to the committee in general that the issue of asbestos has been a very big problem in our province. And I'm sure the committee is aware of a program called ACIDI that was coordinated at national level. And this program was eliminating most of the schools that were built on dangerous materials such as asbestos. And we are one province where we have done extremely well in terms of eliminating these schools. I'm sure many of us who are a little bit older would remember that most of these were in the colored communities in the province of the Free State. And then just last week, I was in Jagersfontein, and I was marveling at the school that has been built through ACIDI. So, but I think there was one or two challenges with ACIDI that they were targeting full schools. And the schools where they were partly having asbestos are supposed to be our our responsibility. But we must also take note, Chair, that a lot of our areas, a lot of our communities has urbanized. Therefore, we've been having lots and lots of challenges in terms of building new schools. And therefore, the issues of the budgets, the issues of the resources are available. You need to prioritize. You need to be able to say, yes, a community here without a school completely. And therefore, maybe sometimes they come as a priority. But I'm not justifying us not being able to deal with some of the asbestos that people are talking about, Letifoshie and others. But I can just say that I'm trying to give the committee confidence that we are sensitive to some of these issues. And then we will not be able to leave them if we had resources. But I thought that because there's quite a number of questions on Letifoshie, HOD, can you please raise on issues of Letifoshie? I specifically want to speak on the issues of mathematics and the impression that has been created. But I want us first to deal with the Letifoshie and maybe others. HOD, can you proceed to help me there? Thank you.
Thank you very much, MEC, and thank you, Honorable Chair and esteemed members of the committee and colleagues. Indeed, MEC, I was, when I saw the report, I went with the Chief Director for Infrastructure to Letifoshie. It was on a Saturday. I counted 16 individual structures that's supposed to be completely gutted and actually be re-established in terms of mobile classrooms and ensure that we actually, on a brick and mortar basis, we actually rebuild that school. And I must also thank the committee and assure the committee that through this in-local inspection that the committee made, we're able also to extrapolate your concerns to all infrastructure establishments in the school, so that one member said we may not be really representative of the full population possible issues challenges that needed to be dealt with within the organization itself. And we use that and infrastructure in our now infrastructure preparation. We also ensured that issues that the committees have raised, they are actually transversal within the presentations that we are going to make sure that this oversight is actually qualitative and actually effective to actually validate the efforts of the committee. Chair, I can also then say this: we made a full account of what is happening at Letefoshier, and for this, the bid on all these issues that have been raised was evaluated yesterday. The bid evaluation committee is sitting on Thursday. We estimate that the job here will be in excess of 8 months. Because it's some of the classrooms. So we asked for a complete construction program to be as less disruptive as possible to learning at the school. Now, the issues that have also been raised regarding Bensplay, at Bensplay, we have actually identified mobiles from other districts that would have been established by the end of June 2022. I must mention that we had a tender that was running, and that tender is currently being considered by the bid evaluation committee because we had to change the scope, and we were advised by the Auditor General that we must not keep on, allocating people before the end of the tender to extend their scope by default. So that tender will actually come to an end. But at Bensley, I think also as well as Hudisa, we took mobiles that were not in full use from other schools, and we established them. The same thing with Bensflay, because with Bensflay, the department has got a lot to lose. Because at Bensflay, that's where we've got our flagship hostel project at. And we don't want to lose the value that came with the farm hostel project, because it has actually, stood the province in good stead, and it has been hailed and lauded as the best program within the sector. I also want to respond to some questions, MEC, if you allow me, regarding the support of external stakeholders, in particular Pick n Pay to Poloso. The LSPID program fortunately attracts the best resource experts, either them being psychologists, social workers. Every program that is brought into our ecosystem, including what even Bloom Care as a private hospital brings into our space, has actually been vetoed by this resource experts. And we make sure that it is fit for purpose and it is not incongruent with enhancing the skill sets that are actually allocated or aligned with learners of LSPID, understanding that the learning landscape is completely challenging and diverse. We cannot treat learners as homogeneous. These learners, they've got severe and profound intellectual abilities. We prepare them for the market, for the economic market relative to their cognitive levels. And then when we deal with the issue of mathematics, the MEC will speak on the general thrust in the organization. I would leave that to the MEC unless the MEC wants me to handle it. I want to deal with the issue of a parent and a learner who entered the school premises and they end up assaulting a teacher. This was a dreadful fate that we didn't even fathom, because what is even worse, the parent is actually a lawyer by profession. A man of his caliber is supposed to know better. We have actually ensured that the police act swiftly. This parent was incarcerated for a period of 3 days, and the state vehemently was opposing bail. Unfortunately, he got the bail, and we ensured that we tracked this case. But we have been very fortunate that our QLTC in that space, our parent community, made sure that we actually came with also our professionals to provide psychosocial support to all the learners and all the teachers who actually witnessed what happened. This was an outlier. It was never it was never anticipated. But truly speaking, Chair, it's becoming a problem because of deviance in our communities. That is manifested in our schools, and we have got a new social compact with our unions and everyone else to work through our QLTCs, which are the best establishments that we have currently in the system, to ensure that incidents of this nature don't occur. Whilst we think that we've got it covered, Chair, we had another challenge where a learner ran home and then after school brought a knife and killed another learner. Now we're talking about grade 6s, grade 5s learners. That's how difficult the learning landscape has become for us. But we have made sure that even at this school, because we don't know what will happen, we also place physical security. Of course, it comes at a cost, but we thought it was better for us to implement it. Yes, to implement it at all costs. I'll go to Leti Foshier. We will ensure, Chair, that we do justice to that school. That's why I'm saying I even went there on a Saturday to ensure that everything is in place. And especially the girls' hostels, we need to give them better support. On the issue of mathematics, I know the MEC has been a trailblazer, but if I'm to preface this submission, I would say the issue of downward enrollment in the Free State is not correct. We are quite aware of that report, and we would want to distance ourselves from that report. Notwithstanding that, Chair, some of the issues, including the picture, the national picture, we should spare a thought for what happened in 2020 and 2021. Those are the years as a sector would want to forget in a haste. It was difficult to teach and difficult to learn within those, but we will ensure that every learner in the Free State is given an opportunity to do math and science in particular. MEC, I think you can deal with the issues of maths participation. With your kind indulgence, Chairperson.
Continue, Chairperson.
Yes, MEC. Yes, you can proceed.
No, thanks. Thank you very much, Chairperson. Let me also just add on issues of school safety that we have built up quite a number of programs to try and deal with issues of school safety. And I'm sure by now it's common cause that we do have officials at the district level, officials at the provincial level, who are part of this thing called the QLTC, but specifically also on the issue of school safety. And this grouping have got, these officials work very, very close with the South African Police Service. We now have got, we have revived the programs such as Adopt a Cop and so on. But I must also add, Chair, that we have been also on our way, including myself, trying our best to involve the communities, the parents themselves. If an environment has actually been created where teachers have fought with the learners for whatever reason, we have been able to go there and call in the parents and actually told them in no uncertain terms that the parents must really discipline their children, because some of these fights, exactly the example that was mentioned, it shows that the child would have been spoiled from home, and the child would not be respecting people from home. So we've been very, very strongly engaging with the parents to say, this is not acceptable. Schools are not where you just dump your children and not give them support. And I'm very, very happy to announce, Chairperson, that we've been receiving a lot of support from the parents, support from the communities themselves, because we don't only talk to the parents of the school, we also involve the community structures and through our QLTC. So I think that it's an ongoing battle, and we are, as we are part of the whole program of crime prevention. We have discussed with our schools. You were talking about Painsflay. I don't know whether they told you that the police in Painsflay police station, we have given them the right to say, whatever time, if you want to go and raid in our hostels, in our schools. We have set up a pact with the South African Police Service because we've realized that dangerous drugs, dangerous weapons are the ones that actually create violence in our own schools. But as I'm saying, it's a program that is rolling out sufficiently. Chairperson, on the issue of mathematics, and I think that I hope that I will not be out of order, Chair, when I say it was really a very irresponsible statement to say, whoever said it, that there will be a Department of Education that goes to children and say, don't study maths. It shows that people don't have sufficient understanding of the history of this country. The history of this country is based on the fact that of Bantu education in particular, that there was a time where, the white racist government was saying Black people must not study mathematics and science. And the impact of that is that more and more of our teachers ended up not being sufficiently capacitated on training mathematics and science. And that is why most provinces were importing teachers from Zimbabwe and everywhere else. And I can tell you, Chairperson, for sure, that I'm somebody who is very, very fond of mathematics. I've studied mathematics myself. And when I became the Minister of Education, we analyzed all the failing subjects and we realized that the two subjects, mathematics and science, were the ones that were contributing to a high failure rate in the province of the Free State at that time. And that is we then established what we called MSTAR, right? It was an abbreviation for English, mathematics, science, technology, and accounting, right? And then we actually ran a program to ensure that we support our learners as much as we possibly can. We went out of our way to go and recruit teachers in universities. Some of the guys who have been studying BSc mathematics, and recruited them into the department for them to be able to do a PGCE and be qualified teachers. And Chairperson, if you can look at our results in the Free State, you will see that the reason that we have been able to pass the way we have passed, it is because our pass rate in mathematics has improved. It is because our learner participation in mathematics has improved. We're a small province, and then we run around, a matric class of about 30,000 per annum or so. And then if you look at the number of learners that are doing mathematics, last year when I checked, it was about 13,000. And when we started this program, it was very, very low. It was in the 6,000. And the pass rates were in the 40s. Today, when I'm speaking to you, Chairperson, the pass rate is in the 70s. So we have done extremely well in terms of improving mathematics in our province. We even rolled a program because we realized that one of the problems that we have with mathematics is that by the time learners leave grade 7, they already hate mathematics because they are not doing well in mathematics. And then we rolled out a program that we called Maths for All campaign. And this Maths for All campaign involved unions. It was a real campaign. We involved the doctors, every profession that is there because of mathematics, engineers, doctors, pilots, the Air Force, for an example, right? And all these people, we took them to primary school kids, especially those who were in grade 6 and grade 7, to say to them, you know what, you can't let go of mathematics. This is what maths can do for you and stuff like that. So and that's program that I'm talking about. We rolled it many years ago, around 2013, 2014. And even before that, I'm sure you have heard the stories about something called Math Lab. We went to India to try and understand, because they are advanced in India with mathematics. And then we tried to copy some of these things, some of the good programs that they roll out in India for mathematics. And then we tried to bring them here at home. We are very, very proud, Chairperson, because if you look at the number of kids that got 100% in mathematics, 100% in physics, physical science, even last year, you will get those who come from the province of the Free State. We had a nice radio interview last year, at the beginning of this year, with SAFM, because they were excited with these kids. So there's no way that we can produce these results and at the same time we tell them not to do mathematics. And last year we went out with partnerships. We've got a partnership in Taumfutsanyana now that's running. We call it OR Tambo Mathematics and Science Institute. We are putting 50% and Investec is putting 50% on that program. And we've got a similar program now in Lejwalekutswa where Harmony is putting 50% and we're also putting the 50%. We have gone out of our way over the weekends. We're training teachers in mathematics because the kind of maths that was brought in the curriculum now was even higher than the maths that we did under apartheid. And therefore we needed to make sure that our teachers now are on par. Members would remember that some years ago, there was a time when you had what is called paper 3 in mathematics. And this paper 3 in mathematics were only done by ex-Morley schools and stuff like that. And we as the Free State were amongst others who said, let's cancel that paper, let everybody, because you see, it's like the same thing of standard grade. In the past, under apartheid, most of the black schools were doing mathematics standard grade, and the white schools were doing higher grade. So this thing of doing away with standard grade and higher grade has leveled the playing field. So this paper maths paper 3 was done mostly by ex-Morley schools. And we went out of our way to say, let's cancel this thing, let that be integrated in normal mathematics, the paper 3 issues. And when I see a black child from Kwakwa getting 100%, I get excited because if it was before, he would not have been allowed to do mathematics at higher grade. So Chairperson, I must say that that was really a very unfair statement that to say anybody could do that. We also even know that National Department of Education, Basic Education, monitors our participation in mathematics. The issue that the HOD was raising, that of COVID, notwithstanding that, you see that we continue to do well in mathematics. But I must raise an issue that is very important because you see in our country, we also have got to address issues of employment. Once you have a teacher from Zimbabwe who's good in mathematics, and then you've got a teacher in South Africa who has studied mathematics, the law requires that you must remove that teacher of outside, of foreign teacher, so that we can give space for these teachers. And therefore, that is why we have to go out of our way to appoint quality subject advisors to go and support some of these learners. I am sure, Chairperson, you are aware that in our provinces, from time to time, the same subject advisors have to go and train the learners themselves, well beyond the call of duty. And I think, Chair, this is what we have been doing. So there's no way, I think members of the committee must never believe that thing, that somebody can go out and say to our children, you can't be engineers. Somebody can go out and say to our children, you can't be doctors. You can't be child accountants, because that's what it means. If you say to them, don't do mathematics, that's exactly what it means. We in the province here, we've been even focusing on setting up schools that specializes on specific issues. Say, for example, a school that specializes in agriculture, a school that specializes in mathematics. And I remember that when I became the MEC for the first time, I even said, this thing of dinner lady, all schools must be dinner lady. Because in the past, it was said that certain schools must be dinner lady, they are only supported by mathematics alone, and others are not. Chairperson, I can even show you, I wish you were here, I could show you the material that we produce over and above the textbooks ourselves as a Department of Education in the Free State, that we produce to give to those kids to support them in mathematics. So I'm sure by these few words, Chairperson, I hope I've been able to explain to the committee that that statement is completely irresponsible, and there's no MEC who loves this country. There's nobody who loves this country who could actually go out and say, let us have a situation where you drop mathematics so you should pass. We go there and challenge learners. We talk to learners themselves. We tell them, don't agree. If anybody says you can't do mathematics, don't agree to that. So we do that, and I believe that it will be incorrect to associate the pass rate in the Free State with a lack of mathematics. Chairperson, I think that we have been able to address issues that have been asked. I don't know if there's any other one. In my own notes, I can see that we've covered all the issues that have been asked from the Free State. Thank you so much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, MEC Northern Cape.
Challenges there.
Honorable Chairperson, I just see that the MEC is in and out of the meeting. Is on his way from Carnarvon. He indicated to me that he has got connectivity challenges. So I see at present he's not in the meeting. So with your permission, if you would like me to respond to some of the issues, I could do so.
Yes, proceed, AJD.
Right. I think the Honorable MEC of the Free State has very, very eloquently and adequately addressed the issue of maths participation. I'm not going to speak to that. I think he has also articulated the way we feel. I just want to indicate that from Honorable Ngobo and Honorable Moroatshe, Honorable Principal, the issue of safety in our schools, yes, it is a big thing. And I think Honorable Principal actually hit the nail on the head, Chairperson, that as much as we are trying to secure our buildings, there's this bigger threat, I almost want to say, of safety inside of our schools, where we have similar challenges with regards to learner discipline, where several horrible incidents are flighted, I think, on a daily basis, of learners who are just completely out of control in as far as discipline is concerned, and alternative discipline mechanisms is one of the things that we are looking at as a province. We are also encouraging our SGBs and our schools to be much more stringent in terms of learner discipline and the provisions that the law makes, that the provisions that are provided already in the law. What we find sometimes, Honorable Chair, is that when learners start misbehaving, the issue is not necessarily nipped in the bud by the schools, either the SMTs or the SGBs, and it is an issue that we are discussing within our IMGD unit to see what kind of a specialized focus can we implement in order just to really highlight this. I must also say that what we have already done late in 2021 as part of our initiatives with regards to capacitating SGBs, we have trained 6,938 SGB members across the province on their roles and responsibilities on issue of finance and recruitment, but especially also on learner misconduct and how it needs to be addressed in the system, both in a manner that is corrective and preventative, but then of course also just to make sure that our schools really become much more safer for learners as well as educators. In terms of Honorable Ngobo, furthermore indicated the issue of learner transport for learners with special needs. At the moment, our allocations for transport for learners with special needs is included in the allocation that goes to the special schools. But because some of them have indicated that they find it difficult to cope financially, we are currently in the process of profiling those learners who are in need of transport to see the extent to which we can just include them in our overall transport mechanisms and transport policy that we are implementing as a department. In as far as Honorable van der Wald's questions, on specifically for the visually impaired learners at Retlameleng School, yes, we have been able to modernize some of our equipment. We have a Braille section at the school, and there is a machine that can basically translate any article into Braille. Then all of our learners who are there are about 30 learners, each have access to his or her own Braille machine. And we are also having maths materials currently in Braille. So we are trying to really deal with the challenges through technology. Furthermore, also for our learners who are hearing impaired, we have procured some of the latest technology to assist these learners in terms of being able to participate better in terms of their learning, as well as through other assistive devices. And yes, I can confirm what Honorable Van der Walt is saying regarding the costs specifically for the technology and machines that we are using to support our hearing impaired learners goes anything between 40,000 or so for one of them. I think furthermore, Honorable Siwela wanted to know whether in as far as Eitzig primary school, given the challenges that it's located on private land, whether we can pronounce if the school rationalized is going to be rationalized or not. I'm not able to give a conclusive answer to that precisely because we now in the process of consulting and compiling the necessary information supported by DBE so that on a case-by-case investigation, we would recommend, after consulting with the communities and other stakeholders, there is a prescribed process that would then result in a final decision to merge or not to merge. There is a gazette also that has been already promulgated. So we do have challenges in some of the smaller areas, Honorable Siwela, where community members might want to resist the closing of a smaller school for whichever reason, some very valid reasons, and we then will look at all of those before final decision gets taken. Honorable Chairperson, your concern with regards to the process of the longevity of the period through which we procure mobiles, I must say there are a few providers. We are trying to procure directly from the companies that actually make these. And from time to time, you'll find that even provinces compete. Like last year, we placed our order in December, but so did a number of other provinces. And of course, especially in the wake of the disaster in KZN, then we will find that the demand elsewhere is of such a nature that you just have to concede that demand or that crisis kind of eclipse your own issues, and then allow the providers to supply in areas where once they've indicated to us, but there is a greater need or a bigger emergency that needs to be resolved, then we kind of have to accede to that. I take your specific suggestion, Honorable Chair, that in cases like Eitzig, where there's a need for additional infrastructure, that one actually then has to look at these mobile units. And I think I would certainly agree with that, because this is mobiles can be moved should there be a decision that we move the school or that the landlord no longer wants us on the premises and so on. I have indicated in as far as Eitzig is concerned, the problem is not with us at this point in time. The problem is with the landowner not being able to provide treasury information on the basis of which payment can be received because of the issue of ownership vis-a-vis the bank details that they have provided to us. But we are helping them to mitigate that. It's just that when we have actually advised them that it's better to provide us with a different bank account number, because you can't change ownership in a short space of time of the farm, but you can really address the issue of the bank account, and that's the problem there. The appointments of the staff, we have envisaged, Honorable Chairperson, that we said by the 1st of June or July, because of our limited capacity in as far as HR and making sure that the processes are all above board. I can report that in some districts we have interviews running. In other districts, we are only at the stage where we are busy doing shortlisting. So we're giving us a period of a month, and after that we will have to assess and see where there are additional blockages. On the issue of the special school that we need, at least in another district, Honorable Chair, I couldn't agree with you more. We have approached Treasury. We are currently, I didn't want to mention it because these discussions are still in its really in its baby shoes. But you might have heard the president in the State of the Nation address indicating that they would be looking with infrastructure, together with Infrastructure South Africa, at piloting the fast tracking of infrastructure, specifically like school infrastructure and other social infrastructure in 2 provinces. And I think it's Eastern Cape has been targeted as the biggest province and Northern Cape as the smallest province, because it was estimated if we have to meet our infrastructure backlog needs, it would take us about 40 years to really eradicate the backlog. And I'm sure you have followed the rationale whereby through various sources of funding, government wants to pilot the idea that we fast track the delivery of critical infrastructure, and those discussions with Infrastructure South Africa, together with National Treasury. In fact, yesterday, last week we had a meeting. Today we have another meeting, and what they suggest, one of the things that they've asked us as prior information is to give them a sense of the projects that if we had the money that we would immediately want to kickstart through funding. So we will, if the mechanisms can be created, we will seed some of our infrastructure funds towards this initiative in order to be able for them to source additional funding through various other means and through National Treasury, by which they then hope to fast track certain specific infrastructure projects that we might have nominated. And in the Northern Cape, we have then nominated 2 special schools, one in Pixley and one in ZFM, as part of the priority list. Should we be able to secure the funding? Of course, there are others like 12 new schools and also assisting us with the eradication of inappropriate structures. So, Chair, that is how we are trying to source funding for the special school needs, and indicated in the report some of the interim mechanisms that we are trying to implement in the absence of such schools currently existing in the other districts of the Northern Cape. I think, Honorable Chair, I'm going to stop there unless there's any of the members who might want to indicate that there's a specific question which they really would like us to respond to, which we have not responded to. Thank you so much, ma'am.
No, thank you very much, MEC, Free State, and the HODs, Free State and Northern Cape. I'm not sure if there's any member who feels that he or she has not been adequately responded to. DG, any additions? DBE?
Morning, Chair. Morning, honorable members, honorable Deputy Minister, honorable MECs and colleagues. No addition, Chair. The presentations that were shared with the committee, we've seen them, and we concur, and the presentations confirm that there is a working together between DBE and provinces as one sector. And I'm sure the Deputy Minister might want to comment as part of probably rounding off the response from the DBE. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, honorable members, honorable DM, and honorable MECs and colleagues. Thank you.
No, I think DM is no longer in the meeting. She did indicate that she will. I don't see her. She did indicate that she will be leaving. Thank you very much, DG. Thank you very much, Free State and Northern Cape. Thank you very much for coming to account on the recommendations that we have made. Like we have said with the Western Cape, we are going to alert them when must they come and do their presentation as well, which is going to be the last province that we're dealing with in terms of the January oversight this year. So at this point, let me allow then the department and both provinces to leave us as committee so that we just deal with committee matters.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. Thank you, members. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Goodbye.
Thank you very much.
Long live the chair.
Thank you very much, MEC Free State.
Thank you.